Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Good evening and welcome to Plank of the Week. I'm Mike Graham. This is, of course, the home of common sense at Talk, and it's Friday night, and this is why we are here. We've got an awful lot of plankery to deal with, and we've got an expert panel with which to do the dealing. You don't have to judge anything. We'll do it all for you. Beautiful Alex Phillips is here. The extremely suave Russell Quirk is here. The quite dangerous Will Geddes is here. And the rather eccentric Mark Wogan has joined us at the end.
Eccentric? You put a hat on and all of a sudden you're eccentric.
With an eccentric hat.
OK.
Anyway, listen, should we start with something continental? Emmanuel Macron and Mrs. Emmanuel Macron.
Mrs. Brigitte Macron.
Let's have a look at it properly. You can see a guy opens the door. You can see him standing in the background.
Get
the
out
hand
of it.
comes out.
And Brigitte goes to Manuel.
And Brigitte goes to Manuel. Very good. And it's like a handoff, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like one of those
Slaps to Manuel.
rugby handoffs.
They've clearly been having some sort of Barney. There's a spat going on, and he said, "Come on, get yourself ready. Why aren't you ready?" And she said, "F off," basically.
But he didn't look very surprised, did he? It's almost
Put down the
perhaps it's a
mayor.
recurring...
Yeah.
But I like the fact that he realised the door was open.
Well, and then...
face.
And suddenly,
And then-
ta-da!
like that.
And the wave.
Yeah. It is extraordinary, isn't it? Because, of course, people have asked questions about his relationship with her. She was his teacher, wasn't she?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she's quite a bit older than him.
Yeah.
And so now she's really old. Well,
Because he's quite old, so therefore he must be.
but wasn't she like 40-something when he was 15 or something? Wasn't that right?
I mean, we all get a bit grumpier
There's a
as we get
25-year
older.
age.
Yeah, I mean, I often feel like shoving people in the face. It's just on the tube, you know.
exactly.
But,
No,
yeah.
I think it's obvious that goes on a lot.
Yes.
That goes on a lot.
do you think it's
I mean,
a-
because she's doing it in front of all the staff that are on the plane
yes,
as
because
well.
you see the reaction
Doesn't count.
of some of the stewards and the stewardesses, if we're allowed
Yeah.
to say that
So
nowadays.
spousal abuse is what we're saying.
Well,
Yeah,
it is.
pretty
yeah.
much.
Funnily enough, Piers Morgan said, imagine if it was the other way round. And not so much him doing it to her, because she'd probably beat the hell out of him, but say, for example, Trump pushing Melania in the
back.
face. And all of the sort of liberal lefties who were thinking...
It's only a matter of
Well,
time.
I think
before that's
everybody.
caught on
amusing.
camera.
I think everybody would fly off the handle if it was Trump pushing Melania.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, but the fact that it's reversed, there's the typical double standards.
Yeah.
You know? It's like it's more of a joke.
Yes. I
Even though we're
suppose
on a
so.
jokey show.
We are
But
on a
it is
jokey
funny,
show.
though, isn't it?
Just in
It
case
is
anyone,
quite funny.
in case anyone forgets that. Apparently, this is what happened next. Yeah, that goes on about 10 seconds.
You gotta love AI, haven't you?
Yeah, AI, you've got to love
Gotta
it.
love
But,
it.
yeah, I mean, of course, there are all kinds of conspiracy theories. I saw my favourite one was the tweet that went out and said, take a very close look at Mrs. Macron's right hand, as if it's a fake right hand.
What?
Yeah, no, I'm joking. I'm not joking.
Well, I mean,
Because-
basically, where are we at with the conspiracy theory that...
What, like a
Mrs.
kingpin rubber hand?
Yeah, like her real
Like a
arm
hand
is
on a
somewhere else. Like, maybe that's why I didn't see it coming, because the real arm comes out of there. And she's got this fake arm that just walks
like
around
it.
like this. I mean, it's ridiculous, obviously.
But didn't he
Where are
pass
we?
it off as being just a jovial
Well, at first,
interaction?
I think at first he said it hadn't happened, that it was actually AI created by the Kremlin.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
And
That's
then
what the press
everyone
came
went,
out with.
Yeah, no, it's not
actually,
there, is
there's
it?
other people that saw it, so...
Yeah.
All the
Yeah.
witnesses are not
Yeah.
generated by AI.
No, they're really not. The plane's real and everything.
Yeah.
You know, the real steps.
Yeah, has it got 8 wings?
Yeah, and so, and it was also captured by quite a few, media cameras, So, I mean...
And then it just said, oh, we were playing. Yeah, looked like a fun game, that one.
Wouldn't her smacking Macron potentially be declared as treason in France? Straight off to the guillotine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know...
You'd have to say she's also the envy of the world, of course, the fact that she managed to land a punch on Emmanuel Macron.
Yeah,
is,
Mr. Slippery.
Quite the accolade.
It is quite the accolade. And, of course, the other great continued conspiracy theory is that she's not actually a woman at all.
I know. That's what I wanted to ask.
I wondered if we were
Where
going
are
there.
we at
Were we
on
going there?
that?
Excellent.
Yeah, we're going to go
Yeah,
there.
you can
We're
go
there.
there.
Are we going to go
Candace
there?
Owens. Candace
Barry.
Owens has kind of
Barry
put a career on the line.
Yeah.
If we were to do a vote on it, who votes that she's a woman?
A vote. I say she's a woman.
I think she's a woman.
Yeah.
No.
Lovely girl.
Yeah, there you go. So
Really,
we've already won then.
I've not looked. if I'm
3
honest.
to 2. So
But
she's a
isn't it-
woman then. This is how the new
The
world
thing is,
works.
isn't it awful that if she is a woman, I'm pretty sure she is a woman, but isn't it awful that people, I mean, the age gap is weird and the teacher thinks weird, but isn't it awful that people are speculating that she's actually her brother grown up secretly or something? I mean, not great,
look,
is it?
I think what
not a nice world to
she
live in.
hasn't helped by slapping him in the face.
Yeah.
But she's going to get away with it because she's an old lady. She hasn't got long left. And, you know, she hasn't got...
Also, we view the French as a sort of slightly odd
They're a
kind of
slappy nation.
nationality, don't we? I mean, they can kind of get away with anything.
kind of expect
I mean,
I was
where
brought
else?
up with
Where
all
else can
those
you go
films.
down into a town and they have there's a picture of a horse's head hanging, and you go into the shop which has got the picture of the horse's head hanging to order some horse meat to eat.
Right.
It's actually
I
selling
was
it.
And we
brought
go,
up-
this is French, you know, they just eat horses.
I was brought up under the impression that if
Have you
you're a
never-
woman
have you
who's in
never had
continental Europe, slapping people around the face is just part of a national sport. Like,
Yeah. I've only had horse meat by accident, you know, when they had that scare with IKEA. I used to take my kids to IKEA a lot, and, you know, the meatballs had horse meat in them, apparently.
Oh, really?
So the next time I went there, after this was all discovered, I said to the guy, can I have some of those horse meat meatballs? And my kids were like, and the guy goes, what do you mean, they're not horse meat? I said, well, they were last time.
And
anyway,
and did he say, would you like some more? And you went, no.
No, I was waiting for that one. No, absolutely right.
Sorry.
Russell
Glee.
Quirk. Sadiq Khan.
It's kind of my standard nomination, I think, on this programme, which is Sadiq Khan for about...
Sadiq.
No, just Sadiq.
We don't call him that here.
For about the 19th time. But the reason is the sleight of hand that he is about to perpetrate on London drivers, which is to increase the congestion charge.
Yeah.
So it's going to go up to
Because
18.
it's not expensive enough, is it?
Well, it's going to go up to just 18 quid a day from
Yeah.
15 quid. So that's a big, big chunk of increase. But also, if you happen to be in an older car, it can be as much as £30.
Wow.
So when it comes to, you know, ordinary London drivers, particularly business owners, white van man and so on, they're being persecuted. But the irony is, of course, this is why it's so stupid. Well, in fact, there's several ironies. Just bear with me a sec. There's the fact that London has been voted yet again the slowest moving city on the planet.
Yeah.
I mean, even slower than Milan,
Yeah.
New York, Hong Kong.
Even Sao Paulo goes quicker than
So we have an average speed in driving terms of about 8 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if the congestion charge works, it's not working very well. So I would argue that what's the point in increasing it to try and
Exactly.
stop congestion?
Isn't it that the congestion charge actually means we put this charge on so the congestion gets worse?
Well, it has.
'Cause it
clearly.
has.
But let's be really honest. This is about revenue. It's all about
Yeah.
Sadiq
Of
course it is.
Khan
Yeah.
feathering his own nest, or not his own nest, but the nest of the GLA and the mayor's office
And
in terms of
TfL
budget
as well.
and TfL. And yet you're talking to TfL, you've got the further irony when it comes to the fact that this is clearly about revenue. It generates about £300 million worth of revenue a year, congestion charge. ULEZ is about 200 million. And of course, the ridiculous 20 mile an hour speed limits, which have all been caught in another 300 or 400 million quid. But a way to generate more revenue is to reduce costs by way of, get this, not allowing the relatives of TfL staff to have free TfL passes.
No.
Would you believe?
You're kidding me.
I know. Loads of them.
54,000
Relatives.
54,000 people
What?
now get free travel on TfL all of the time because they're nominated by a TfL ticket inspector as their favoured person. 54,000 people getting free TfL travel. So why don't we abolish that rather than persecuting the white van man that's trying to earn a living in London?
Well,
Right.
I mean, more and more, and we'll be talking about crime in general later, is that real criminals are not actually getting prosecuted for anything, not getting caught, not going to prison. And what they're actually doing is going after sort of people who are not really committing any crime and finding them and punishing them every single time. I mean, you can't get away with driving in a bus lane, but you can get away with shoplifting.
Yeah.
How does that work?
What Sadiq wants to do now
Or
is
23 miles
legalise
per
weed
hour
as
in
well,
a 20
doesn't he?
mile zone. Yeah.
Yeah, Sadiq now wants to legalise weed in London.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, it disproportionately affects the black community. They always get targeted for smoking weed. And I'm like, it basically is legal anyway in London.
Pretty
Let's be
much.
fair. It's basically legal. But I mean, we're not slow enough. He wants everyone to be like...
But you know what he really wants to do? Again, back to the revenue point, he wants to legalise it. So guess what he can do? Tax that as well.
Yeah.
He'll be taxing the air that we breathe. He'll be taxing, I don't know what, footsteps, whatever
But
else.
if he legalises weed, most people won't notice how slow
Exactly.
the traffic is.
Exactly.
You see, you've got to put these revenues in place. And there's a very good reason, because that's how you afford to close one lane down and make it for bicycles, which is really important.
Which are
That is
really
important.
That's important.
Really.
I mean, one of the nice things about being in Dubai, I have to say, is no bicycles at all. I didn't
Well, it's
see
too
one.
hot to cycle.
It's too
Yeah,
hot to
fair.
cycle,
Yeah.
And also, nobody would care if you run one of them over. Because, it's not made for bicycles. It's not made for cyclists. Forget about it. But I came back from Heathrow the other night and straight onto the M4 because, it's cheaper actually to leave my car at the airport than it is to, get a taxi there and back. And, of course, I'm immediately in a clean air zone, which happens to be right next to the airport. So they've reduced the speed to 50 miles an hour because you can't pollute the M4. But then there's literally, A380s dropping liquid fuel all over Hounslow, But I can't go at 65 because it might pollute the air.
Let's
Now,
not
I
be
have
mad.
an electric car. Does that mean I can drive fast?
Do you know, that's a good point. I don't know.
Because I'm not polluting anything.
Well,
No.
hang on, hold that thought, because the other thing Sadiq Khan is going to do, apart from...
Electric cars are going to be taxed.
Well,
now,
electric
as well.
cars are going to be taxed, whereas
Oh,
they've
no,
been
I'm getting
exempt.
rid of it, don't worry.
And also discounts for certain residents and so on, they're all going to be abolished. So again, be under no illusion, this is about money.
It's just
about
getting
revenue.
more and more expensive to drive in London. They're just trying to stop you.
Yeah.
But I mean, they'll cut their own heads off, because at the end of the day, if they make it impossible to drive in London, people stop.
Yeah.
Where are they going to get the money from?
No,
I only found out the other day, actually, they've moved the London Assembly again.
Yeah.
Oh, if they
Yeah.
moved it again.
No, well,
How much does that cost?
No, it's this, because I still thought it was down the river here by Tower
bubble on the
Bridge.
river,
but
no, Stratford.
they
No,
moved
no,
it to the
hasn't,
XL
no,
Centre.
hasn't been there for ages.
Yeah. I thought it was
They moved to the XL Centre ages ago.
And that
Take it
GLA
over.
building is empty.
Yeah.
So they're presumably having to pay themselves council tax or business rates or whatever
Yeah.
on that building. What an absolute waste.
Shocking.
Yeah, but
Can I just say one thing
I'd
before we wrap up? Of course, when Sadiq Khan goes and walks his dogs, he doesn't walk them. He takes 2 armoured Range Rovers,
Yeah, right.
which are petrol or diesel, by
Yeah.
the way. And I guess...
And he
probably
drives
isn't-
several miles to walk them.
Yes, he does.
Has
But
he
I
got
bet
one
he's
of
also
those
not paying
TfL
congestion
passes?
charge.
Has he got one of those TfL passes?
Well, as in the free thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he has.
Yeah.
Also, just on the subject of
Nominate
transport,
anyone.
well, before we move on, this was the first nationalised train service that started Great Western Railway, which is the one that goes down your way, down towards kind of, the West Country. They had their first train under the new nationalised system, which was running on Great Western, was due to come into Waterloo at some point or other a few days ago. You'd be not surprised to know that part of the journey, I'm afraid, had to be completed by a rail replacement bus. So look forward to...
It bodes well.
Look forward to the future of nationalised railways.
It bodes well.
Get yourself... leave yourself plenty of time to get to your destination. Will, over to you.
OK, so Shabana Mahmood, our Justice Secretary,
Yes.
has started this initiative to move towards basically sex offenders, paedophiles that have been incarcerated to start taking certain pills and tablets which will, let's put it in simple terms, will reduce their urges.
Yes.
Let's put it that way. Now, the Planck nomination is the probation service who've been told to pass down to basically their cohorts that when they're speaking to these criminals, these disgusting criminals, that they are not to mention chemical castration, which is fundamentally what it's going to
what
do.
it is.
Yeah. Which
Well, in
it may
case it
be-
upsets them.
well, because it might upset them. It's a little hurty words there, and because it's only voluntary,
Right.
they don't have to. But Shabana Mahmood to give her dues is trying to make it compulsory, which it should be anyway. I
Yeah.
think anybody who's convicted of a sex crime, whether it be adult or child, should be
Yeah.
castrated.
The problem is,
happily with house bricks. I will
So you mean
volunteer.
physically
Yeah.
rather than chemically?
Yeah, physically would be
Yeah,
even
but
better.
you never get
Yeah.
you get away with that in the British, liberal justice system. Which
Well, yeah, in the US they do it. Many other countries around the world they do have obligatory and mandatory castration.
chemical castration.
Chemical
not
castration.
castration. People get
It's
confused.
by choice. So you can go to the aforementioned bacon
Yeah.
and go, would you like to tie a knot in it?
Yeah.
And they can go, no, I'm all right.
Or you could just
exactly.
get married
At the
of
moment.
course. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the other thing you could do.
I don't think that stops. I don't think that stops the.
No, so they give them the tablets.
Stops the urges
Marriage.
altogether.
They'll give them the tablets and they'll say, there you go, that will reduce your urges. And the thing is I honestly don't think it's going to work.
Also,
I
I
think
mean,
that
Robert
thing-
Jenrick was talking about this week. He said last week Labour claimed they will mandate chemical castration for paedophiles in prison. It turns out it was a total con. Because
Yeah.
actually, what it is, it's going to be a trial that they're going to do.
Yes, exactly,
I think, in
across
one
20
prison.
prisons. Or no, they're going to move it to 20 prisons.
20.
apparently.
Well, they
Yeah.
say 20. Have
Yeah.
we even got 20
But
prisons?
it's so,
No.
it's so
No.
mad saying to a criminal, would you like a particular form of punishment?
Yeah.
Do you fancy the guillotine or banquet? Do you
Yeah.
fancy
Yeah.
chemical
But
castration
the trade-off
or
is,
not?
I guess, a lower or a reduced sentence.
Getting
if you
released
take
early,
the pills.
yeah.
But then what happens when they come out and they stop taking
that's
the
the
Well,
other-
exactly. That's the
They go
problem.
straight
Yeah.
back on the wrong end.
That's the other. There's so many questions because
Yeah.
the process itself is an ongoing one.
Exactly.
So you can't just have one time only chemical castration. You have to keep taking the tablets.
And they
as it
won't.
were. And if
As
you
soon as they
stop
come out.
taking them,
Yeah.
And also I've done interviews with paedophiles before, and it's not the act of the sex act that they want to commit has got nothing to do with what they're thinking about.
Exactly. It's got
so it
very
doesn't
little.
stop you thinking about what horrible thing you might want to do to a child.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really solve the problem anyway.
No, exactly. And one of the things I know, certainly from my world and helping victims of crimes of this nature, is is that the perpetrators, it's more about power and domination than it is to do with sex whatsoever. Right. So this kind of urges thing, it's more about managing their anger or I think just rusty pliers.
I think just lock them up and don't let them out.
Yeah. If it was a choice thing, you could make it more attractive, maybe tie it in with a trip to Turkey.
Yeah. Yes.
Would you like to go to Turkey and have that lopped off? Because it's been a problem.
Yeah.
Or put them in a Turkey prison.
Yes.
Even better.
Yeah, that would work. Have they got any space in the Turkish
That might put
prisons?
them off.
They might well do. Now, I'm told we've got some of Britain's top cops in action. I'm not sure if this is not related to chemical castration. I hope it's not. Anyway, but this is the worst cop in Britain, trying to chase somebody.
With a stinger.
Oh, look, he's thrown something down there. The guy's gone around it. Oh, he's had the stinger doesn't seem to work, does it?
Oh, God.
I think it was a little early.
Yeah, have another look. I thought you were going to show me somebody chasing somebody.
Yeah, no, the problem is the guy on the scooter who was trying to sting was actually obeying the 20 mile per hour rules.
Also,
and so he saw it coming.
The guy on the bike's going, what have you got that for?
Also,
little early. Little early.
Because that's how those things only work if you're going really quickly.
Yeah.
Because if you're going slowly enough to stop and turn around and go back the other way, it's not really much of a deterrent.
Well, he could have just pushed him off. It just would have been easy.
Yeah, well, he just throw himself at it. One more.
He could have done a Macron.
Actually, to be honest, I think just throwing the entire stinger at him on the bike would have been...
Yeah, lassoed him with it. That would have been the way to go.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mark, over to you.
So, Starbucks. There is unrest in Starbucks.
Not surprisingly. Too expensive in there.
Well, there is that. But also, there's something like 120 stores in the States have gone on strike, which is about 2,000 people, because there has been a new mandate on dress code. Now, obviously, dress code is a thing that's very close to my own
heart.
Yeah.
And they have said that you can now, underneath your green apron, only wear dark colours, dark trousers, denim or khaki, right? Seemingly, prior to this, they were allowed a slightly wider range of dark colours. I don't know about you. I've never gone in to a Starbucks and thought, there's quite a lot of individuality going on here. We should encourage this.
He looks like Timmy Mallet over there. And his yellow dungarees.
This is the place where they write your first name on the cup, isn't it?
Yes.
Because I don't go to many of these places very often, but that's the way that I always know that
and you can actually say whatever you want.
The thing is, Starbucks
people make up stupid
I always kind of like
putting
giving a different name every time and then forgetting what name I gave.
Yeah, right.
But Starbucks, by and large, seems to be staffed by people who like pronouns and have short fringes. Every time we see those viral videos of people going, you've got to respect my identity and, I'm Kudziza, it's always someone who works in a coffee shop.
Are they in a
it's like
green
they're
apron?
drawn to it. I've never gone to a coffee shop and seen someone serve a barista who I think, bet they voted Brexit. They don't exist.
No, they really don't. I think we've got some clip here of some Starbucks employees. Let's have a look.
We're out on strike today because Starbucks is trying to implement a new dress code. No one ever asked for a new dress code. They updated a dress code recently and it made it looser where we can wear colors and patterns. And now they're deciding that we can only wear black.
This is just testament to that generation, let's be honest.
Yeah.
They just want to object.
I don't want to wear anything.
Whatever
they
it is.
tell me.
But they're sitting there goal hanging, waiting to be offended, aren't they?
But it's like,
whatever directive comes down from head
But
office is, oh, brilliant, I can be offended by that.
No, I think it depends, because that is very much the barista. Like I said, coffee shops staffed by the mentally ill. You go down a supermarket where they all have to wear sort of little checkout uniform. They don't complain because they're normal working class people. It's like, oh, I've got to wear a uniform. Fine.
But what is it about the concept of working for somebody else and them telling you in your employment contract that you have to do a certain thing that people don't understand?
Well, they tried with Mark with the dress code.
Mark works in hospitality.
I do.
I mean, you probably have your people dressed up. Well,
they can wear whatever they
ballerinas and all sorts.
They can wear whatever they
No,
like.
but you also have certain rules, right?
Yes,
so
you do.
As in,
which
be
is
on time,
be
wash
nice.
your hands.
Yeah, be clean,
nice.
be nice.
Yeah.
Well, our sort of policy is, imagine you are going for a pub lunch with your new prospective partner's parents. That's how you should dress when you come to work.
I like that.
All right? In other words, don't come to work looking like you just got off the sofa after a big night.
Like her.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
And I've just noticed that the Starbucks shirt is actually Starbucks Workers' Union shirt.
Yes, they've got a union.
Yeah.
They've got a union.
Of course they do.
Of course
they do.
But it's such a horrible place to work, isn't it?
Yeah.
One of their defences was this, which is customers don't care what colour our clothes are when they're waiting 30 minutes for a latte.
Who's waiting 30 minutes
Nobody
for a latte?
is
Why are you
waiting
taking that
30
long?
minutes for a latte. And she is absolutely, or he is absolutely right.
It is. To be honest,
They are absolutely
I
right.
think they is appropriate.
In the respect that the customer doesn't care.
No.
So
No,
you can jump up and down as much as you like. Where's my coffee?
Yeah.
But it's still a rule. And
I
the
think we'll know
employer
that
has the right.
civilization's finally righted itself when all of these coffee shops shut down. And you just go back to the old cafe system where if you wanted a cup of coffee, there was a guy at the railway
I think there are more serious
A jar
issues.
of Nescafe.
I think there are more serious issues. I mean, and that is, having a spokesperson who wears a mask outside.
Yeah.
Really, that's not
a
going
good
to work,
look,
is it?
But anyway, listen, off to a brilliant start. Coming up, we're going to go back to the Labour government, I'm afraid. We're also going to go over to the BBC once again. This is Plank of the Week, back after this.
Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Welcome back to Plank of the Week. It's my turn to give my first nomination. I'm afraid it's going to be the Prime Minister, who won it last week.
Stolen him off.
And he might have won it the week before as well. I can't remember, but he's already he's playing a blinder. He's won a lot. He could be Plank of the Year this time. Old Keir Starmer. The problem he's got is that basically, aside from everything going wrong, it's now starting to go wrong at a faster rate. So it was really thought it couldn't get any worse.
The literal slippery slope.
Yeah, and the slippery, he's literally like falling down now, and he's trying to grasp any kind of old scrub that he gets his hands on. And the latest thing is this crime pledge that he came out with, in which he gave David Gauke, possibly one of the worst ever Tories in the history of being a Tory, this permission to sort of look at the prison service and see what's going to happen to that. So you let loads of people out of prison, because the answer they've decided to having the prisons are too dangerous, there's too many horrible people in them, and we must make prisons safer. So let's take those dangerous people out of the prison, because then the prisons will be safer. But actually, in reality, the streets of Britain are going to be more dangerous.
I guess if you only put people in prison that have tweeted something slightly offensive, then that's right.
Then you won't have to worry about the wardens getting upset.
Yeah,
the wardens will be able to, push them all around because they're only mothers really who tweet.
Yeah.
Whereas if they have to start, getting hold of nasty like Muslim gangs and rapists and murderers,
no, let them out.
Just let them out, because it creates too dangerous of a scenario.
It makes perfect sense
for the workers.
What about giving them the option of a chemical kosh?
Yeah. I thought you were going to say something else. Really. I see what you did there. But unfortunately, even the police don't agree with him. The Metropolitan Police, MI5, and the National Crime Agency, right, have all come out and actually said, and the words they've used, I have to quote them for you, could be a detriment to society to let these people out.
Do you think?
I mean, really? You've got to go to college to learn this
and worse
stuff?
than that, Mark Rowley, I think, said, we've not been consulted as the police. How are we going to police these thousands of criminals that have been let out on the street inappropriately?
Exactly
He's
right.
got a point, isn't it?
And six, it was Rowley plus another 5 different police chiefs have written to the Times this week to say, even if we did want to do all this stuff to look after the prison system, to look after the criminals coming out, to make sure that knife crime was halved, to make sure that violence against women and girls was halved, we haven't got the money. So basically, they've already given up before any of it happens.
Yep.
So if you're a criminal now, you might as well just enjoy yourself, because one, you're not going to go to prison. If you do go to prison, you're going to get let out. And then when you get let out, you're never getting back in.
So the majority of horrible crime, and I'm sure Will attest to this, is committed by a minority of people, right? When it comes to rape and violence and robbery and so on.
Yeah.
So if the police aren't currently seen on the streets anyway, and the detection rates, certainly where I live in Essex, we've done something on this on Talk in the last few days, detection rates plummet, crime goes up and up and up. When you then allow back out a huge number of people that are basically wrong-uns and are going to perpetuate loads more crime,
Exactly.
I think it might be a recipe for some kind of disaster.
I think it would be, and I'm bearing in mind the response rates. I mean, I've got some good friends in the Met and various other constabularies.
Do they actually respond?
And they can only do what they can do with the resources that they've got. But didn't Starmer might come out and say we wanted another 13,000 cops as well?
They haven't got money for that either.
That'll take a good 5 years. Train them up, get them experienced, get them vetted.
But you know what? They need
hopefully.
13,000. It's because 8,000 a year leave. They never talk about the ones that leave. They
Well,
talk about the extra, but not the net.
up. Right. Nobody's signing up, Russell. Nobody's signing up. I mean, literally, people who were actually applying for the police, the numbers are ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Well, we have currently something like, at this moment in time, 86,000 people in prison. In the system in this country, right? In 2021, it was 78,000. It's predicted by where are we? 200 by 2029, which is election time. Supposedly, it's going to be somewhere between 102 and 105,000.
Can I just trigger Alex Phillips here? 10,400 of those 86,000 are foreign criminals.
Yeah.
I knew it happened.
And he keeps telling us, and Starmer, hang on, Starmer.
It's true.
But Starmer keeps promising he's going to deport them, even though he doesn't deport them. So let's have a look. I'll tell you how bad Keir Starmer is, or Keith Stalin, as we like to
Stalin, yeah.
Even Diane Abbott looks better than he does. Have a look.
How would you describe him as Prime Minister?
Well, he's done quite well with international stuff, but basically he's a manager rather than a politician.
What's he managing?
That's
I
horrible.
haven't seen him managing anything, though. That's surprising.
Yeah.
His own decline.
really bad
Managing
job.
his own decline. Very good.
Ouch.
And here's Nigel Farage. Ask you, Matt.
Why doesn't the Prime Minister and I go to a working man's club somewhere in the Red Wall, and we'll sit there and we'll let them ask us questions, and you can all come along and cover it live. So that's my open invitation to the Prime Minister.
So which the Prime Minister has said, I don't know any working men's clubs, but I only know clubs for working people.
Do you know where they should do it? Do you know where they should do it? And I say this in all seriousness, Southport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get Keir Starmer back to Southport, because he spent 30 seconds there last year, and see if he can hold his own there amongst that audience.
He couldn't hold his own
He'll get lynched.
in a room on his own.
For the Labour politician.
Yeah, he really couldn't. I mean, even Labour politicians hate him. Everybody hates him.
He does hold his own, but it's so he can
In a
rock
different
himself
way.
to sleep.
Yes, well, somebody's got to do it now that the others have all been... No, sorry. Anyway, Alex, over to you.
Oh, we're talking about... Oh, God, I don't know, talking about... God knows what we were talking about there. That's really thrown me off. Thanks,
Sorry,
Mark.
Nicola Sturgeon.
Talking...
You know.
Yeah, Nicola Sturgeon, thank you.
What a woman.
Let's just do that as a segue.
What a woman.
What's a
she?
woman
Hang
who
on,
still
was she
doesn't
back
know.
again?
Yeah.
She still doesn't know what
Jeez.
a woman is. You know, she died. Her political career died over this whole trans thing. The Supreme Court's gone, guess what? Women don't have penises. She's gone, well, yeah, that's nice, but actually trans women are still women. It's, oh, for God's sake,
Yeah, get
Nicola,
over it. Yeah.
Let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go.
Literally.
Literally.
Or rock yourself to sleep.
She seems to be doing a sort of world tour at the moment of book festivals. I think we've got a picture of her.
She's written a book.
That's not her.
That's
Come on.
Janine.
Don't be unkind.
That is her, isn't it?
No,
Sure it
it's so unkind. No, I keep seeing her at book festivals. She keeps sort
Do
of
you know
popping
what?
up. She's at the Hay and
She
White.
was
written something or about to?
don't know.
What sort of book is it? Colouring in?
I don't know.
I hate these literature festivals.
Yeah, I know.
I used to like a good
They're
literature
so
festival when it
full
involved
of-
literature.
Yeah.
Now it's just people, it has been politicians and gimps like
just all
Rory
wokeness?
Stewart
Yeah.
peddling their nonsense books that no one really wants.
I'd
It's
only go to one if
just awful.
maybe J.K. Rowling was there and Jordan Peterson.
Yeah,
That's it.
And
That's the only
everybody
literature
else,
festival I'd go to.
would boycott it.
Yeah.
yeah, you know, and Douglas Murray.
Yes, oh, yeah, 100%.
But that's the thing, you know, because whenever they announce that somebody like that's going, everybody goes up in arms and goes, "Well, we
get
have to
deplatformed.
cancel the
I
festival."
don't want to
now."
listen to another opinion.
No, no. Nicola Sturgeon, I think, believes in her heart of hearts, in her mind, that she's some kind of saviour of a particular group of people, and nobody's really sure
Who are these people?
who that group is. Nobody knows.
Did Sturgeon do a book on trans then? Is it a pop-up book?
Thank you very much. Very good. No, I don't know what she's doing really, but I mean,
I don't think she knows what she's doing.
she's sort of she.
Why
it's
isn't
almost
she
as though
just gone?
Has she forgotten the car crash of a political career that she's kind of left behind her?
No, I think she's
notwithstanding
she's
her
forgotten that
husband
bit.
and so
But they
on.
all do this, don't they? Leaders of the SNP, they really mess things up and then they just keep clinging on because you've got what's his chops as well. He's still like wearing his Gaza football
Well, the
shirt and won't
scootering
leave that
Humza
alone.
Yousaf.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's it.
Oh, can we see
but
that clip again?
But he's gone. We can probably see Humza Yousaf.
But he still pops up on social media.
Please, mate, it's the only chance I get to see it.
We should probably play it.
Yeah, it's like I always put in my
here he is.
request for David Lammy on Mastermind
That's
as
it.
well.
Here
Yeah,
we- well, let's do it. Let's do it. I'm sure Chuck can put it in. Humza Yousaf trying out a new form of transport in the Scottish Parliament. Here you go. So, Russell, over to you. BBC Northern Ireland.
Yes, this is not just the BBC. This is the BBC Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
And because they're racists is, in effect, my assertion, my allegation. Yeah, well, listen to this, right?
Well, the BBC are?
Yeah.
Crikey.
Who knew?
Who'd have thunk it?
versus white people. Because I think that can be a thing, don't you? That people can be racist towards white people.
Yeah, of course they can.
I think so, very much so. Yeah. So this is BBC Northern Ireland. They are advertising for interns with the following words in the advert. This is a positive action scheme, and as such, you must be from a black, Asian, or minority ethnic background in order to apply. In other words, whites need not apply.
So no one at this
That
table.
is racist.
Correct.
Is it not?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
But this
racist.
is-
The
this is
Equalities
existing.
Commission would love to see that, I'm sure.
So they're not
This
Baptist
is-
planks, but they've broken
Right.
the
But
law.
this has been going on for a while, hasn't it?
Especially
And
the BBC.
West Yorkshire Police have done
the
it. sort of-
BBC are particularly bad at this. They've
Yeah.
done it in other areas as well. And I don't understand how they could get away with it.
Well, there is
on
a
the
thing
face
called,
of it.
There is a
You
thing called the
can't.
Equalities Act.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but why does it seem to only apply if the transgression is towards
Yeah.
Asians or black
Yeah.
people rather than white people?
But it's like the Equalities Act, which is currently being overhauled in the House of Lords because Toby Young from the Free Speech Union is trying to get it to change. You know, because Angela Rayner is trying
So
to
that it's balanced.
well, she's trying to change it so for the workers' rights part of it, so that you can actually be a victim of something if somebody says something you don't like. Apparently, though, it only protects the free speech of lefties. It doesn't actually protect the free speech of people from the right.
From the right.
So if you're in a pub and you say, I really like Nigel Farage, I think he should be the next Prime Minister, and that woman with the mask from Starbucks jumps up and says, I can't make coffee now, you've really upset me, you might get prosecuted.
Yeah, so what I would suggest anyone watching this and the hundreds of thousands of people that do on a weekly basis,
Yeah.
apply for this as an intern and just change your surname. Because it would be really, really funny to have all these people turn up to interviews at BBC Northern Ireland and they're all white.
Yes.
Even though they had names like Patel and
Right.
Jackson.
Could
and-
you not just pretend to be identifying as somebody from
I think that's allowed. I don't
You
think
know,
the Supreme Court
I
ruled on that.
identify as a Vietnamese person, therefore, And also, I mean, I've been to Northern Ireland. I used to go out with a girl from Northern Ireland. It's not a very diverse place.
It's not very
Belfast.
woke, is it?
It's not
Well, I
particularly
don't know,
woke.
it is now.
Is it? I haven't been
getting
there
that
for
way.
a few years, but I mean, it was certainly a very white, about the whitest part of Britain I've ever been to.
Less so now.
But can I just remind everybody that, of course, because it's the BBC, we are paying for this. We are paying for this.
Why is there even
extremism.
still a BBC Northern Ireland? They should do away with it, shouldn't they?
Yeah, just have BBC GB. Right?
Just a BBC GB and just do away with all the regional stuff.
Yeah.
Quite right too.
Thanks.
Well, listen, it's going very, very well indeed. Will Geddes coming up next. He's going to be talking about the post office, I think, and also a weird story about tattoos, which you're the perfect man to explain about.
Don't know what you're talking
Is it about your tattoo?
No idea.
It's not about his tattoo, but he's got some very nice ones there. This is Plank of the
Mike's
Week. Back
seen
after this.
Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Welcome back to Tattoo Central. Plank of the Week. I'm Mike Graham, and of course we are here to judge everybody here who's done an awful lot of stupid things. Here, Will Geddes has got the post office. Once again, the government still hasn't sorted it out.
Indeed, and it's
What is
quite
going on?
disgusting. So you guys may all recall some years back there was obviously this whole issue with the Horizon IT system.
Yeah.
If you saw the great TV programme on ITV,
Yeah.
Mr. Bates Against the Post Office, it really gave you a pretty good idea. And it was only that documentary that really levelled it up to the government and to Parliament to basically be addressed, which everyone hoped, because obviously a number of postmasters it was about 700 or so, who were criminally convicted of supposedly defrauding the post office.
And served
but it was
prison
down
time.
and served prison time.
And some died.
Some
before
killed
they were
themselves.
exonerated.
Exactly. And it was this Horizon IT system. So there was a big compensation claim driven by Mr. Bates, now Sir Alan Bates, which tells you enough in itself that what a fantastic guy he is. And the actual commission that's responsible for compensation, yes, many of the 555 were exonerated, but they're still waiting for compensation.
Yeah.
Now, he's been on
It's
this
ridiculous,
battle
isn't it?
since 2015.
Right.
He has now been offered less than half than his original claim. And his original claim was very justified, and everybody else has been the same. And typically, as the government always does, they wrap it all up in BS bureaucracy to make it virtually impossible that if they want to appeal that, which he has done a couple of times, literally it's been diminishing returns.
So how do they justify the reduction?
They justify their by basically looking at their compensation scheme in terms of how it's levelled up, and the whole thing is a complete enigma. I mean, it is a complete
Nobody
enigma.
understands it. Because
Nobody
remember,
understands it.
when the show came out in sort of 24 January, I think it was.
Yeah.
You know, all the gnashing of teeth that went on, all the sort of politicians were going, "Oh, this is awful,
Yeah.
terrible," and
Yeah.
they were all complicit in it. You know, from Ed Davey,
Particularly.
when he was Post Office Minister,
Yeah.
all the way back in the way to sort of Tony Blair's time, when they brought in the system in the first place.
Exactly.
And some of these Post Office employees and sub postmasters and mistresses, have died. Some of them committed suicide. Some of them were ruined. Some of them went to prison. I mean, it's a disgusting story, really. I can't believe that they still haven't been
And
paid.
were we 25 years on?
Yeah.
But half of it also is the fact that the actual cost to appeal it they are again into diminishing returns. So the poor people like Sir Alan and the rest of these postmasters who are trying to get their compensation for loss of significant earnings as a result of this effing sort of IT company basically ruining it, has put them in a position that if they want to contest it, they want to appeal it, they're going to have to spend a fortune in legal fees to do so.
And the people who have made the money,
this government.
people who have made the money out of it are the lawyers, right?
Ed Davey contracted to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And it's the government basically leaving it as it is. Yeah.
We've got a clip. Let's have a look. This is Alan Bates on Good Morning Britain.
I can tell you of other cases where the people who have been to prison, who have suffered, been prosecuted the whole time in there, and they have claims in for substantial amounts, and they're being offered less than half of 1%. Half of 1% of their claim.
So it's a scandal upon a scandal.
It is.
Yeah.
And where's every government has got worse with each.
But where's the
passing day?
list of our MPs right now that are standing up for these postmasters?
But you've also got the likes of Rachel Reeves, who's already spent 20 billion since Labour have got into office, or something like that.
No, it's a lot more than that.
It's a lot more than that.
They borrowed 20 billion.
They borrowed 20 billion.
In April.
That's it.
That was just in April.
First budget was 40 billion.
And yet what they're doing is just basically putting these chokeholds in where the previous government said, yes, we're going to set this up, we're going to do this appropriately, but the current government's basically gone, let's just wrap it all up.
Everything they should spend money on, they refuse to.
Correct.
Everything they really shouldn't be spaffing up the wall money on, they do.
Yeah.
It's almost like they constantly live in photo negative of governance. The whole country would say, look, we might be cash strapped, but you've got to pay compensation to those
exactly.
people.
It's like winter fuel allowance.
But you could be forgiven for thinking, couldn't you? It's almost like a Labour scorched earth policy. They know they're never ever going to get elected again. So we may as well just destroy this Britain that we've
just ruin the country.
Dear Pakistan, we're not going to send you foreign aid because you keep trying to blow up India. Give that money back and we'll give that to the post office.
I mean, that was one of the things President Trump did, which I so agreed with, which was stop all foreign aid.
Yeah, just stop it.
Which is stop it all, reinvest into your own countries.
Now he's done something even better, which is stop all foreign students, which he could also do. And everyone's going, oh my God, we can't send our kids to America. Well, good.
Oh, well.
Boo-hoo. That's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Unbelievable stuff. Mark, over to you. And Tattoo Land.
Tattoos. Yes. Now, those who know me slightly and those who know me intimately know that I have the odd tattoo.
What are they, Mark?
Well, I mean, they go on forever. They go all the way down there and all the way back.
Scorpion?
I've got a scorpion. That's
I noticed
my son got stung by a scorpion. That's why
to celebrate
a pineapple.
You decided to write
the pineapple is the universal symbol of hospitality.
Is it?
Is that right?
Never knew that.
They all do have a meaning.
Right.
I mean, they're not just on
tattoos
there
need
for
to have a
no
meaning.
reason.
Well, you've got one as well.
I got a few, but they're granny friendly, so you can only see a little bit here.
What about you, Russell?
What about you, Russell?
I'm asking you.
No, I'm asking you. You're next.
Russell?
I have got one. I have got one.
What have you got?
I have got my wife. She'll absolutely kill me for this. I've got my wife's nickname tattooed on my foot.
Oh, that's nice.
And no, it's not the
sweet.
foot that I
Nice.
kick away.
That's quite sweet.
It is. It's lovely.
Yeah.
So let's not change the
I'm
subject.
literally the only person without. I've got no tattoos.
Alex.
I've got no tattoos.
You're coming with me after this.
Okay, then.
Can we focus?
So, what were you talking about there? About,
Don't let her
Sorry,
do this.
no.
Don't let her-
Sorry,
Alex.
Which
You
you have
haven't
to say
answered
if she
the
doesn't
question.
want to.
Have you got a tattoo?
When I was 18 at university, I went on a trip to Northern Ireland. Yeah, it was. And my friend and I got lost in a shop and ended up...
Lost in a
It's not a UDA tattoo, is it?
Well, it's not, even worse, not Jerry Adams, is it?
It's very, very...
It's Jerry Adams' face on your back.
surrender.
It's very, very small. It's very, very small and even not able to be seen if I was on a beach.
Okay. And it is?
It's a paw print, a cat's paw print. Really small.
Isn't that lovely?
Michael.
I've got none. I'm the only person here who hasn't got any.
Really?
You're coming with me after this. We're going to get you inked.
So many people have got tattoos now. It's actually
You never have one, though,
an
that's
act
the
of
thing.
rebellion not to have one, as opposed to the other way
Yes,
around.
you've always been a bit rebellious.
I have.
You never
I've
fancied
got
a
children.
spider web on your neck or a tear on your cheek?
Not really, no.
Cut
No,
hair
it's not really me.
Sleeve?
Not really me. No.
Well, anyway, back to the story.
Back to the story.
We digress.
Which is about this young woman who had a barcode tattooed on her of her, so that she could buy or pay for her favourite drink, which is Red Bull, which I personally think is Satan's urine. They were never going to sponsor me anyway.
It's awful. I don't like Red Bull.
No,
And not
no.
only that, but
I
I
thought
had
they'd
it once,
gone.
right?
No.
I was driving my kids from somewhere to somewhere when they were, living in two different places. And I was really tired and I thought, this will keep me awake. and it didn't even work. You know, I bought 2 cans of Red Bull in the motorway service station. They were asleep in the back of the car, and I was going like this, and it didn't do any good.
Yeah.
You know.
But anyway, this woman is a massive fan, so she's had the barcode tattooed on her, and it actually works on a scanner.
So when she goes to buy
very proud of this. However, it then goes on to describe her other tattoos.
Oh, yeah.
And I would question her taste.
She's got other barcodes.
No, she's got an alpaca, a lemon, and a Zelda sword.
I don't really understand. If you're buying a product, if I'm like, here, I want to buy this phone. Oh, the barcode's tattooed. What? I don't understand what the purpose of that is.
The other thing is, which she hasn't thought through, is they do change barcodes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's eventually it's not going to work anymore.
But isn't this part of that? Do you remember there was a time when they said you're going to get a chip in your hand so you can just go like that, so you don't have to...
the
contactless card will be redundant because you literally just have something there and you just go like that. But I don't know. Let's have a look. We've got a clip, I think, of this woman.
Look at this fella trying. It would work if I could pull my skin back. Ha!
She is under the impression it is art. Now, those of us who have body art all think our tattoos are great. Although I have been having them since I was 14.
Yeah.
Illegally. And not all of them are art. Some of them are just awful.
Yeah. And cheap, presumably.
What is your most awful one?
My most awful one was probably my first one, which was a dolphin.
And what did your father, the esteemed Terry Wogan, say when he realised at 14 that you had...
Well, he didn't see any of my tattoos until I was probably about 16.
Right.
And you'll probably have to bleep this out.
Go on, what did he say?
But he went... we were on holiday somewhere, and I just thought, well, it's time to get these out. I'm brave enough now. Oof. Sat there with no top on, and he went,
There we are. And so,
love him.
I'm the one that doesn't have one, obviously. So we'll be back with more, and the winner after this.
Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Welcome back to Plank of the Week. It's gone very quickly this week for some reason. We're down now to the last possible nominee, and it's mine. And I'm afraid it's the Prince of Darkness. You may remember he is, of course, my Lord Peter Mandelson, a man who has been probably one of the most controversial politicians. People sort of sliding around Peter Mandelson because he's so odious, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's a guy who, when I was working in newspapers, once threatened to get my my mate, who was the news editor of the Sunday Express at the time, fired because he had had the temerity to send somebody to Japan to find out exactly why Peter Mandelson had taken his new boyfriend to Japan on a holiday which is ostensibly being charged to the taxpayer. And he was quite vitriolic and quite nasty.
He's the Voldemort of politics.
He is the Voldemort of politics, but like Voldemort, he keeps popping back up again just when you think he's dead.
No tattoos,
you never
He'll never die.
Do you remember when the first time it was suggested this guy might become the next ambassador to the United States of America? Everybody went, nah, it's not going to happen. Don't be ridiculous.
Well, the rumours came straight back from the US that they were going to veto it.
Yeah. And you can, and everyone went, that's just Mandelson putting it about that he's going to get the job. And of course, there he is. He's sitting there as the probably most important British diplomat in the United States of America, regularly sitting with Donald Trump, having meetings with Trump all the time. And he's very charming when he wants to be. But he's got a slight problem, which a lot of politicians of his era have got, and that is that he used to know Jeffrey Epstein quite well.
Oh, yeah.
And he doesn't like talking about it. And here he is being quizzed by Sky News reporter when he was outside a building. I think this is over in Washington, D.C. this week. Have a look.
In June 2009, did you stay at the apartment in Manhattan of Jeffrey Epstein?
I'm not answering any questions about him.
He was in jail at the time for soliciting prostitution from a minor.
And my knowledge of him is something that I regret. I wish I'd never met him in the first place.
Why did you have an association with him? Because he was in jail at the time.
Yeah.
That's a fair question, isn't it?
He'll be writing or ringing somebody at Sky about that, because that's what he does. Yeah. He'll be going, how dare this man accost me when I was in the public
ask me about the truth.
Ask me questions that I didn't want to answer. I wish I'd never met him. Well, I'm sure there's a lot of people who wish they'd never met Peter Mandelson, you know, but that's not the point. When I first met Peter Mandelson, you know, he had a moustache. He was writing a column for the Sunday People.
I've seen the pictures.
And he was a very different fish then. He wasn't quite so sophisticated. He was kind of turned. He was one of those politicians who started out with not very much. He came from this nice middle-class background in North London. But in the end, he's now a millionaire.
He only has one tattoo, which is around about here, and it's
three numbers.
Three numbers.
Yeah.
They look like nines, but depending on how you look at it.
I reckon he's a man who's got 1,000 political lives because he must have compromat on loads of people.
Yeah.
I think he's just got so much crap on everybody else that they can't get rid of him.
But he also tells you about the Starmer administration, how they're still, in some ways, being captured by the Blair lot. You know, Tony Blair's still kind of hovering around. Mandelson very much still hovering around.
Puppeteering.
Yeah, a lot of puppeteering going on. But also, he's a very smart guy, a very clever guy. But, you know, he is
very nice.
pretty damn odious, though, isn't he?
He is.
I mean,
He's been saying lately about, we need to basically rejoin the EU. He's been banging the drum on that from Washington, D.C. I'm like, you're the British ambassador. America hates Europe. Donald Trump's made it very clear. He does not like Brexit. Do your blimmin' job and shut your trap.
well, that would be good, wouldn't it?
My mother, who unfortunately is no longer with us, if we are quoting members of my family this week, would have described him as having a neck like a jockey's.
Is that the same as having a brass neck?
Yes, very similar. Very similar, but with more of an Irish twist.
But you can't, because you can only be that. You can only be that kind of politician if you completely disregard everything that's gone before, and you just stand there in front of a camera and talk the kind of BS.
But these people get away with it, don't they? What's amazing is people like Mandelson do have multiple lives, whereas anybody else would be like, well, that's a bit dark. Can't have Mandelson. Look at that black mark staying in Epstein's flat while he was in prison.
Yeah, I know.
Come on now.
But I think the minute you kind of start to say things like that, he goes, "You know what I have in my safe."
Exactly.
You're like, oh, okay, he's
we'll
fine, let
just
him
leave
back
it
in.
alone. Yeah. How do you fancy a job in Washington?
So do you think that poor Sky guy by Monday's fired?
Well, I mean, they do. I mean, some of these characters like Manson, they do bring an awful lot of pressure to bear, and they can be pretty nasty about it as well. But anyway, I don't think he's good enough to win.
No.
Do you?
No.
I don't think he's good enough to win. I've got a feeling, you know, I can't give it to Keir Starmer again. I quite like the idea of where are we?
I think the Macrons, come on.
I think the Macrons.
That's quite good.
I think the Macrons.
I'm not sure she deserves it. I think he deserves it.
No, he definitely deserves it.
Yeah, I think
Return to punch.
Why does he deserve it?
Well, he deserves it because he just
exists.
And we're all a bit envious.
Should we have just for old time's sake, just to confirm, have a look at it again, shall we?
Yeah.
Here he is, and there he is standing there. I mean, it's not every day you see.
Oh, it's a good one.
A leader. Bonjour. And it's not every day you see, you know, a leader of a country getting a smack.
So do we not believe that it was a term of like an endearment thing, where you know a bit of a kind of squeeze of the cheek?
No. I think it was
nothing endearing about that.
This was definitely a hand.
No, it wasn't.
It was a shame.
It was an open hand. I mean, the only thing would have been worse was if it was a closed hand. Like the fake one that she keeps, you know, which keeps kind of coming out as she's walking.
But there was a lot of intention in that hand.
There really was.
Oh, yeah. That was one angry lady.
Yeah.
I'm just surprised she managed to reach down that low.
Yeah.
To grab him. You know,
I think,
Maybe
Sadiq
she
Khan.
was sitting down.
Sadiq Khan is bad as well, but I think we don't often have the French, do we?
No.
And I think it might be a nice change. All right, shall we
Sounds
make
good.
it the Macrons then? Yeah. Here we are. The Macrons, both of you, Brigitte and Emmanuel Macron, Le Planck. Of
De
the
la
week.
semaine.
De la semaine.
Le Planck.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you to Alex. Thank you to Russell. Thank
Merci.
you to Will. Thank you to Mark. We'll be back same time next week with more with Plank of the Week.